Long-term viewers of this channel will know that I really enjoy low poly, minimalistic, aesthetically pleasing puzzle games that are on the budget end of the scale for Steam and itch. I find these games really good because they offer this kind of, come in, the puzzles are really easy and you'll feel brainy. And then about halfway through, they usually hand your brain back to you on a plate and go, here's the hard stuff. And you get absolutely slapped around like a wet fish. Hexillume is the latest game that I would put into this class because it does that, look at me, I'm cute and fancy and very cleanly aesthetically pleasing, but actually has some really tricky game mechanics hiding underneath that reveal themselves probably slightly earlier for me than they would do for other people, because it has a few game mechanics in here that really troubled my brain. The idea in each level is to light up each of the hexagonal tiles, and you do that by aligning the triangles that sit inside them to have an opposite triangle pointing back at it. So they have to be like opposites attracting and pointing towards each other, and once all of the triangles in the hex are doing that, that hexagonal tile lights up. Do it in the minimal amount of moves required and you'll get a gold crown, and they translate into hints which are very handy for later levels. You'll start off initially with hexagonal tiles that you can just pick up and drop, and it's all around just like arranging arrows nicely and succinctly. Then very quickly you'll get introduced to the fact that you can pile on hexagonal tiles on top of each other, and depending on where the triangles are sitting, they'll merge in together, so that you can then create like tiles on top of tiles all becoming one together. Then tiles are able to be rotated like a cranking of a clock, and that means, just like hands of a clock, those triangles will move into different positions, but you're still thinking about what's gone on beforehand. And then you'll start to get mirror image tiles too, and that will flip tiles and the triangles inside them, up to down, down to up, left, right, but then also diagonally, and that would catch me out quite often, because diagonally, when something gets mirror imaged, it didn't quite go always where I expected it to go because I'm thick. Now, I'm always mirror image directionally challenged, and I think this is why I found Hexillume slightly harder than perhaps other people might do so. And that didn't stop the game being very enjoyable, because it did. What it did prevent me doing is getting through the game at any kind of rate of speed where the gameplay is going to be vaguely watchable. So I'm sticking to earlier levels in the gameplay footage because there's just a lot of me going and coming up with really elaborate solutions to something which actually probably had a very elegant solution to it. And because you've got all of this ability of putting things on top of each other to create new tiles, rotating stuff around and mirror flipping things, it's very easy to get the wrong idea that you think you've got the right solution and go down like a real dark rabbit hole, only to realise when you do eventually give up and use a hint that you was nowhere near the solution at all. And that happened to me quite often. I really like the hint system in Hexillume because it doesn't give you the answer. What it does do is when you spend a hint, is it gives you the layout of where all of the hexagonal tiles will sit in the grid itself, so that you kind of still get that satisfaction of being able to solve the puzzle by dropping everything into the right place. It's just giving you almost like a progressive hint. What I'd have really liked to have seen though with Hexillume is a progressive hint beyond that available if you wanted to spend another token, for example, for a hint. You only get hints by getting the golden crowns, and for a relaxing minimalistic puzzle game, what I didn't expect me to be doing was to be going back to the earlier levels, working out the perfect route to get the golden crown, to then go back and get the hint to try and help me solve some of the later puzzles. And that felt a little bit too hardcore for something that markets itself perhaps as relaxing. It's a really tiny critique, but I think having a progressive hint system or unlocking, levels in twos, for example, would allow you, if you're having a really, you're just up against a brick wall cranially, can't think of a better word, to try and solve that puzzle, being able to go, park it, I'll have another one through to try and get some progression through, I think would have just enabled this to have felt a little bit less hardcore for me personally compared to some of the other games that market the same sphere of type of puzzle in this genre. The actual satisfaction of getting through the puzzles though was great. Love the aesthetic, love the very ambient drone background soundtrack. It does settle you into a nice and focused mood. And I do like the fact that there's lots of pretty lights and a little musical aperitif whenever you complete something. So it is satisfying from that regard. Just bear in mind, if you're as mirror image challenged as I am, you'll probably find this game slightly more difficult than other people, because it does rely on that mechanic to create chaos and carnage for you as you go through the game. Written review over on highplanegames.com. It's a definite thumbs up from me. And yeah, this one comes out on Steam tomorrow. It's out on itch now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.